Hallöchen Leute, ich habe euch was sehr Cooles von der Gamescom mitgebracht, nämlich ein Interview mit dem Game Director der Formel 1 Spiele bei Codemasters, nämlich Lee Mather, und das Ganze wurde auch unter anderem so in der Form ermöglicht, weil in der Präsentation auch der liebe Onkel Poppy saß, der da zufällig zur selben Zeit eine F1-Präsentation hatte, und der hat sich dann bereit erklärt, die Kameraführung zu machen. Da nochmal einen dicken Gruß und vielen, vielen Dank an der Stelle. Ich verlinke ihn euch auch gerne mal in der Beschreibung, könnt ihr mal gerne vorbeischauen. Ansonsten entschuldigt bitte etwas die Soundqualität, die ist halt auf der Gamescom entsprechend nicht ganz hundertprozentig optimal, also es ist halt relativ laut, und außerdem entschuldigt auch meine Nervosität, denn es war ein langer Tag, es war gegen Abend schon, ich hatte kaum was gegessen und war super nervös, dieses Interview zu führen, und das zeige ich euch jetzt. Viel Spaß! Hallöchen Leute, ich bin hier mit Lee Mather, dem Game Director von F1 2018 und auch von den Vorgängern. Hello, Mr. Mather, nice to have you here. I have some few questions for you. We don't have much time, but I hope we can answer.
Yeah, let's quick fire some of them, shall we?
Okay, because I want to know who the guy behind the F1 games is, because I really enjoy them. And so the first question is, in which age did you start watching F1?
Yeah, so it's hard to put an age on it, and I don't really want to give away my horrendous age now, but I always remember obviously the Prost and Senna sort of battles, you know, the 1988, around that era, that's when I sort of remember it the most. I probably would have been sort of 10, 12 years old around then. As I was saying to somebody earlier on, I really started to get into it with Nigel Mansell around 92. You know, we started to see him dominating that year in the Williams. I think that was probably when I really started to get into it. And then as I got older and I was able to drive, I would go to the test days at Silverstone and watch the drivers practice. And I think my first Grand Prix was probably 2003. I went to Indianapolis, which is a bit of a strange first Grand Prix to do, but that was incredible.
Okay, very cool. What did fascinate you about F1?
Do you know what, it's the pinnacle of motorsport. It's technology being pushed to the absolute limit, and the ingenuity that they come up with, and the way that they managed to work around those rules. You know, it's like when the blown diffuser came in, how genius that was. And talking about Mansell, you know, that car had technology that's been banned ever since because it was so advanced. You know, active suspension's never been allowed in the sport because it made the car so almost invincible.
Okay, very cool. What was your most exciting moment in F1?
Oh, I mean, I've been quite lucky to meet a lot of the drivers, and filming with Lewis Hamilton in 2010 is a really exciting moment for me. It's a standout moment. We filmed with him and Jake Humphrey from the BBC, and his brother played the game back in the UK. I think that one will always stand out as one of the absolute pinnacles. But also our esports final last year in Abu Dhabi. I mean, I never thought I would be in Abu Dhabi with the drivers in the paddock, with all the esports guys competing in the game. I mean, that was, yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah, it's very cool. I also watched it. It was very cool.
It was great.
Yeah, which is your favorite driver of all time?
Yeah, I think I said earlier on to somebody asked a similar question, and obviously Senna does stick in your mind because he was something special, you know, really, really special in so many ways. But then Nigel Mansell for me, because he was a local hero for me. He's regionally from us, you know, very close to where I live. He's obviously a British driver. He drove for Williams, an iconic team, you know, in a car that's in a livery that is so iconic to me. So it's probably Nigel Mansell. But then modern day, obviously, I support Lewis Hamilton.
Okay, very cool. Which racetrack do you like most, and which would you like to come back?
Favourite track's easy, Spa. I love Spa in the game, I love Spa in real life. I've been there numerous times for the race. I've driven it as well in a road car. I did a track day there. It is one of my favourite circuits in the world. It's just, no matter how many laps you do, it's just beautiful. Track to come back, I want Turkey back. I really miss Turkey. I really enjoyed Turkey. It was a great track, and I think it would suit the modern cars really well.
A turn 8 would be very cool.
Oh, it'd be incredible.
Flat out.
Incredible. Yeah, I think it would be flat for a lot further than it used to be.
Yeah, the driver would have the problem with the G-forces, but that's not our problem at all.
They got strong necks.
Yeah, you can pick one F1 team of your choice. Which car do you pick, and which driver do you pick? I think Nigel Mansell is one.
Do you know what? I don't think I would. It's a tough one because the car, I generally like to go for the Renault R26. So obviously that immediately puts me in as Fernando Alonso. Yeah, but the FW14B with Nigel Mansell, he's something special. Yeah, I think that's probably where I'd go.
Okay, very cool. Which was your first F1 game?
Ooh, Ooh.
Mine was 97.
So official F1 games, it could well have been around then as well. Was that when Psygnosis was still doing it, I think? I think I had one back then. I also had some of the Sony ones.
I was too young to know.
Before that, I even played, there was a game on the ColecoVision called Turbo, and that had a steering wheel and pedal setup. Mm-hmm. And then, I guess F1 was probably Jeff Crammond. So there was Jeff Crammond's Grand Prix. But also played Continental Circus and Super Monaco GP, which were, again, Formula 1 style games. And there was Vroom on the Amiga. I mean, I've played lots of racing games over the years.
Okay, very cool. On which AI difficulty are you driving in your games?
So this year, I'm currently playing at 90. Okay. 90 is where I sit, and it depends if I'm playing on wheel and pad as well, depends which one I'm using. On a wheel, I'm more comfortable to play at 90. On a pad, I generally knock it down just a little bit.
Yeah, I understand that. I also don't get used to the pad again after driving with a wheel.
Yeah, when you get used to something, it just becomes very natural to you, and that's sort of, it takes a while to go back to using the other device.
I probably know the answer already, but who will become world champion in 2018?
I mean, I'd love to say it's going to be Lewis, but I just get the feeling this season is very similar to the year that Nico took the title, in that it could be things that go wrong that might dictate what's happened. I mean, we've already seen, obviously, Vettel had his incident at Hockenheim going off. That wasn't expected. You certainly wouldn't have ever expected that to happen. I think there could be things that intervene this season, but I think it's going to be between Lewis and Sebastian.
Yep. If you could change something in current F1, what would it be?
I go to every race. Do you know, I don't know. I can't really think of anything that springs to mind. I think there's been some great changes over the last couple of years. I think the racing this year is certainly really back on form. And we're seeing a bit of a mix-up in the mid-pack as well. You know, it's great to see Sauber stepping up this year. It's great to see Haas performing well this year. I think it's great that teams like Haas, for example, get to share components with Ferrari, because it immediately gives us another great competitive team in the sport. And I think that's a good way to go. Obviously, I still like to see teams innovate and develop things on their own, but I think there's a degree of shared component stuff that definitely works to give us a more competitive grid.
Okay, then I have some questions on the game development, because you have the target since F1 2017, I have the feeling, that you want a proper simulation and you're taking huge steps close to one. What is the motivation behind that? Because often licensed games are like, everyone has to have an approach on it. Of course you have driving aids, which helps new drivers, but they can also go very deep to the material.
Yeah, I think what we found is that the more you go to the extremes of doing things realistically, the better it feels for everybody. So I think as you find this year, the cars feel like they've got more grip, but that also means that it feels more relatable. So even though, yes, we're simulating more realistically than we ever have done before, it's more relatable to a player what the car is going to do, what they expect it to do. So those inputs relate better to the car and its handling. And I think simulation isn't supposed to be hard. Simulation's supposed to be immersive and engrossing as we have it. And as you say, the assists really do make the game accessible to virtually anybody.
Yes. 2 other questions we already had off camera, but let's ask this for the interview again. At which time do you start to create the models and the performance of the cars?
Yeah, so the models, obviously we can get some of the teams earlier than others, it just depends. Obviously we start to see reference as the season starts, so we'll get people at the pre-season test, we'll get CAD data from the teams, we get livery sheets from the teams so that we replicate all of those correctly. So it's pretty much around the same sort of time as the pre-season testing starts, maybe a little earlier, sometimes a bit later. In terms of the team performance, again we start building the cars in terms of their performance at that time, but we don't really lock it down until we've watched at least 4 or 5 races, and then obviously we look to maybe patch later on if we've got anything wrong. So obviously this season Sauber have come out much stronger than I think we were expecting. So it's interesting to see those things, but we generally be able to get pretty close.
Yeah, another question. What are your plans for the next game? Will there be major steps to be expected?
I can't talk about that.
You can say yes or no. Okay.
I think this year's really strong, and I think you've seen what we've done between 15, 16, 17, 18, and I think that's a trajectory that we're really hoping to maintain. Keep making the game stronger and stronger every year, and keep getting people back every year.
Okay.
So I expect very much after the past few years. So the last question, may I invite you to a 1v1 session on a track of your choice in F1 2018?
Do you know what? If we had time, I would happily give you a race. Yeah. Actually, if you got, would you play on PC?
PC, yeah.
Ah, see.
I also have the PS4 version.
I could maybe race you on PS4.
Okay,
We'll swap PSN IDs.
Okay, very cool.
Cool.
So thank you very much.
Thank you. Pleasure.